I'm sure she'll love to talk.
All right, look, she's filming.
Say hi to the camera, Avery.
Don't get shy now.
So some of these questions came from Craig, Val, Tracy, and some players. Okay. So first things first is, when you started ECVC in 2017, did you ever think it would be this good? Why build ECV, and what was its purpose?
Well, I really did think, and Tracy and I talked a lot about coaching together. And Tracy said I wanted to coach still. Like, I was at the time considering coming back to Coastal Boys. And Tracy said to me, I want to coach girls and I want to coach with you. And there was an opportunity to do something that I thought was really special with a new club. And I was lucky enough to be with really good people, specifically Steve Blevins, that we started something very small, and through the right intentions and the right actions, we thought that Coastal Boys are what they are now, and we could probably do something very similar. So yes, I did think the potential was there. I wouldn't have started a club just to start a club. I wanted to start something in the vision of what ECBC was, which was challenging for open, challenging getting girls to as high of clubs or colleges as they possibly could. So no, it doesn't surprise me we're finding the success that we're doing, because holding people to high expectations and we're getting high results. And so I'm really excited. I really do think and hope that we've learned a few things, that the next 5 years ECVC will move into that direction. But I know that it would be best for me to be an advisor than a coach in that situation. So I'm really excited about the path forward for ECVC.
Now, you talk about Steve Blevins, huge part of your life in coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What made that so special to make you move forward? Like, what were some things that you brought from his coaching over to ECVC to instill in other coaches, other players? Like, what are those kind of things?
I don't think I think Steve and I coaching together was more of an experience where we collaborated together. Tracy and his wife Val sometimes wondered if we liked each other more than we liked our significant others. But I mean, TVA and ECVC, not ECVC, TVA and Coastal was in a bad spot. Well, TVA was in a bad spot. Coastal came in and really made volleyball into what we know it as now. And I'm really proud of where Coastal brought them. And Steve and I experienced a lot of highs together, and Steve and I experienced a few lows, very little lows. But I think the one thing that Steve taught me was how to run a club and an organization more, and why, more than he did coaching wise. And that's probably what I thought the operational piece of ECVC that I brought from working with Steve so much.
Nice. Now, what's the difference between boys and girls? Girls are better, right? Like, obviously, but...
Well, what do you think? You've heard me say.
I go back and forth. I've never coached boys before, but I've seen it firsthand with Russ and Steve, and there's some pros and cons to both, but I think Russ, to see him with the girls, now having a girl of our own, like, it's fun to see him in the coaching role with girls. So it's been a fun journey to watch on that one.
I got to be honest, I almost don't see much of a difference. I think the game is a little bit tougher. I think the serving is tougher in the girls' game. I think the blocking and offense is better in the boys' game. Naturally, things that you see. But when it comes to coaching, I don't know if there's much of a difference. I really do believe that winners, boys and girls, get coached the same. They get challenged the same. They get motivated the same. I really do think, I mean, going back, between boys and girls, winners get coached the same. They don't get motivated by wins and losses. They get motivated by athletic and potential gains. So a lot of people ask me that question, and I always answer the same thing. It's between a true winner who truly wants to be better and isn't afraid of constructive criticism, which I think is lost, versus somebody that just wants to be told they do a good job all the time.
Why didn't you ever wear a pink hat, or at least a pink ribbon on the hat?
All right, so story of the hat.
Yeah, because I'd like to know the story of the hat. Like, where did that originate from? Like the whole Caribbean vibe.
Oh, the Panama Jack.
Panama, the flip flops at nationals, like possibly shoeless. Like, I gotta know that story.
Where did that start?
It started when we started dating, but it didn't have anything to do with you.
Yeah. Good.
I'm in a random Walgreens on Shore Drive.
I didn't know that.
And I see this hat, and I think it's the coolest hat of all time.
How old were you during this time?
This was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And this was right when I started coaching. This is right when I started coaching with Steve. And I just loved the hat. And I played on the beach with it. I do remember putting that hat on and walking into Mahi Ma's, and I saw a woman with the same hat. She took it off because I think I wore it better.
We almost lost the hat in Mexico.
We almost lost the hat in Mexico.
Grateful. Then
But-
we got another one.
But I am actually, my grandmother is from Panama, so there is a kind of a interesting little tie in there. And I have rebought that hat every year. I wore it after we qualified for nationals with the boys that I had that were so successful, and the boys embraced it. And it's another part of that winner's mentality. It doesn't matter whether or not you think that person is goofy. If they enjoy it, you embrace what they're doing.
So why didn't you bring it into the girls earlier?
Well, I did the same thing. Every time that we won the bid, I would put it on. So the bid was much more difficult to win for the girls, and it would happen later on. So I wouldn't wear it all season. Now for flip-flops and all that other stuff, flip-flops I would just wear it, and the girls told me how ugly and terrible it was.
Yeah, girls are much more, they judge a little bit more than probably boys do.
That's
so.
one thing.
I think Russell was a little
But
cautious.
the reason why I actually was barefoot in the finals and semifinals was because I had bought brand new flip flops, and I sweat sitting down. I'm sweating right now, and my feet were so sweaty I was slipping on the court. So if you ever go back and watch a game when I have the flip flops on, I'm sliding like I'm on ice. So I just ditched the flip flops because I had a job to do, staying on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Which is nothing, and I didn't, that's how it ended up working out. It's purely utilitarian for sure.
So let's revert back to the why not a pink bow or a ribbon or anything of the sort to give a little flavor.
Well, everybody said to bring a pink ribbon to do that, and I would be 100%. I would have been 100% willing to wear it.
Totally
It just
blame it on
never happened.
Never happened.
It just never happened. And the hat was not necessarily like something that I was worried about. It just seemed to be something cool. And I always felt like, one thing that Steve and I did that was cool is we did a nationals team jersey, which was a white jersey. For the boys, we did, at that time, it was a light blue, a navy blue, and a yellow jersey. And earning your white jersey was kind of a way, or your good job, guys, you made it to nationals thing. We introduced the gray jersey for the girls. I don't know if we're still doing that or not. We did it a couple years ago. COVID's kind of messed some things up. But I feel like that type of reward is something that is symbolic. And I feel like that hat was always a reward to me. And if somebody put a pink bow on and said, you're wearing this, I'd have done it. It wasn't anything that I was like intending at all. Or not even saying I would.
Sorry, UCBC.
It's all Val's fault.
What is your favorite memory that you ever had at ECBC? Which I'm sure there's many, right? But if you had to take a second, and of course we could cut this, but take a second and think about maybe top 3 memories that you've had at ECBC. What are they and why?
The gym was open for the first time.
That was cool.
I know Craig had something to do with it. I really do feel a sense of pride when I walk into that gym. And especially the girls, even the girls that left for another club or had a future somewhere else. I feel like when they walk into the gym that they know that they put that together. There's a sense of pride when I walk into that gym. The thing I really enjoyed was finishing second in our very first tournament. Really similar to our boys. Our boys the first year, my boys that I had, we had 3 different clubs around. There was a lot of animosity or one-upsmanship going on. And our boys won the bid tournament, and we said we came in first. And everybody had excuse here, or reason there, or story there. And we came in second in the Memorial Monument City Classic, or whatever tournament it was. It was the first tournament that everybody was at. And it just showed if you just hold them to these high expectations, that would work out. And so I would say the gym, that first tournament that we ever had as a club, we won a game 15-0, which was the only time I ever was part of the OFER. That was pretty cool. And then the third one, I think the last one that I would say is when we had tryouts the second year, and we had hundreds of girls show up. It just showed that we had something special. Our foundation was right, and we could grow if we do things the right way. So those were probably my proudest moments for sure.
Now, thinking of favorite moments, this might be kind of in the same lane, but I want it to be a little different. What are you going to miss the most about ECVC? And I know it's probably going to be Val's emails. Okay? Yes. So let's just get that out of the way.
Gonna miss Val's emails.
But on top of that, like with the most memories that you've had, now what are we seeing that you might miss out on, that you're gonna have that void?
Well, Tracy and I decided to coach together because it was kind of like our time. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to figure out a way to have our time in a different setting. It was really cool to take Cooper to Disney when we had our Orlando trips, or take our family to the Atlanta Aquarium, or to do things like that. So I'm going to miss the opportunity to take people to places or family to places that, we'll have to actually do ourselves instead of schedule ourselves. So family first. The other thing that I will miss is that competition. I mean, the reason why I coach is I don't have anything to prove as a player necessarily. I'm not competitive as a player anymore. I like to play. I like to compete. You won't see me getting yellow cards or red cards or cussing out refs because of my play. But I do enjoy the competitiveness and the fire, being on the sidelines, especially with young people who have that fire and desire. So I will miss that a lot. And then also the camaraderie. On the 18s level, one thing that was different that really shocked me is you're kind of on your own island as a coach. You're not part of the big tournaments. You're not part of the club's schedule. So, I guess there was a slight breaking from the club, because when they were in Florida, we were somewhere else. But being a part of the club is going to be something I miss a lot too.
All right, on a one-off here, so you were an All-American, or what were you at when you played? All-State, right? Or like what MVP? Like what were you?
I was okay.
What were you?
I was a state player of the year.
All right, state player of the year.
State champion.
What year was that?
1999-2000 school year.
Okay.
Back when they were still side-out scoring. Yes.
So knowing that, like, what kind of player were you back then, and why coaching? Like, why take the route of coaching instead of like competing at, whatever, professional or why the coaching route after being state player of the year?
Let's make it right. I was a really good volleyball player. I was a pretty good athlete, but I was smarter probably than I was talented. And state player of the year because you were the best player on the undefeated team. I was the only senior. The 5 juniors the next year, they went ahead and won the state championship without me. So yes, was I a big influence and a good player? Yes, I was. I wasn't big time college. Fred was at ODU, was the coach of George Mason who recruited me. I remember a 30-minute conversation of him trying to explain this libero position to me because it had not been out yet. And, high school senior with all these accolades that I had collected, I was not about to be a back row player. And being a libero was something that was kind of below me in my mindset. I played college basketball. I was offered money to play college basketball, so that's why I chose that. And since maybe I didn't realize that I wasn't going to be a college volleyball player, but after I lost all interest in basketball. I wanted to be a coach, and like I said, I was probably smarter than I was talented, and it just ended up becoming something that naturally was ingrained. My mother was a school teacher. My dad was my coach in all sports except volleyball, and I excelled the best at volleyball. So it's kind of one of those things. Like, I post every year on the anniversary of my mother's passing, that just a little piece of me hopes to stick with a little piece of the people I coach and influence. And a big piece of me is my mother, and I just hope a little bit of that passes through. And they don't have to know who she is or anything like that, but I get to leave that legacy for her. And she left way too soon. I was 15 when she passed away. And I just hope that there is some sort of legacy that gets to be left that way. So coaching just inherently became something I naturally gravitated to. And because I had a great upbringing and I enjoyed it. My parents were coaches, and it's just something that I kind of enjoyed. So, yeah.
Speaking of leaving things behind and leaving a mark on young athletes and young coaches, right? Like, thinking of the athlete world, what do you hope that athletes, when they refer back to you and go, oh, well, Coach Russ always said this, what is that? And then on the other side of that, what would you like your coaches to say? Russ is in the back of my head while I'm talking to these kids. What do those two things look like in your point of view?
I hope that I was able, at least for the girls that I coach and the boys that I coach, that they could take one thing specific to them. I don't really like to be a macro coach where it's one thing or my way or the highway. I hope that I influence them on an individual level. I have had a few people reach out to me, and it's been very humbling in them reaching out to me saying thank you. I just want them to go and play and love the game as much as I did. I love going to like Diggs tournaments or going to TVA League and stuff and seeing people that I coached out there being the great people that they are, you know. And so
they always tend to what's the proper way for social media to say, but they trash talk Russell when they play him on the other side of the net. So
maybe that's what they picked up as the smack talk.
I was not a big smack talker. I was in the volleyball court. I was not that much on the basketball court.
Yeah.
I was a little bit of a trash talker. I just want them to know that if I work them to red line, you know, working as hard as they possibly could, that hopefully they got something out of it. You can't ask them to be something that they're not.
I think one thing I've gained from watching him coaching over the past few years and me being a coach is, you know, we all fight for our kids. We all fight on the sideline for our kids. But Russell, like, puts his heart and soul, sometimes a little too far, in my opinion. But it's all for good reason. It's not for him to look crazy, but it's to fight for the kids. It's to fight for them and to know that he's got their back. And in return, I think they know that and they leave with that.
Tracy, so there are a couple stories that I love. There's one time I am going for yellow card. Like, I am going for yellow card. And Tracy is behind me yelling at me to sit down and shut up because I'm embarrassing her. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I am getting a yellow card here. So now we're in the middle of a family fight as well, fighting over here. So of course I look like the buffoon, but yes.
I don't know how many work teams are all like whispering, like, what is that coach doing?
And then I was pretty proud of Kiara. I got Kiara one time. There was one specific thing where the girls decided to transition instead of cover the tip, and I just saw her grit her teeth and get all angry and mad. I was like, I rubbed off on her just a little bit, like just a little bit. You know, the details matter. Where your weakest point will come out in the times of the most pressure. But yes, it's going to suck to go after what you really want, because there are hundreds of people going for the same thing. I learned that lesson. Our boys came, when I was coaching, the boys came in second in the country. They go straight to California 6 months later to a high performance tryout camp thinking that they're going to be it. And there are kids that didn't even finish in flight that are cutting in front of them for high performance tryouts. They didn't care who you were. They had a goal to meet, and that competitiveness surprised them. And I think it inspired them at the same time, and I want them to always know that yes, you might have gotten away with it today, you might have beaten that team across the net, but there will be somebody when you really want something that's going to be ready for you, whether you know it or not. So yeah, that's
So on the flip side of that, what would you suggest coaches learn from you, or have something in the back of their head that go up? Russ said this one time, I'm going to take it and run with it, or something you'd like to leave it behind for your coaching staff and younger coaches, right? There's going to be more younger coaches coming up through the pipeline at ECVC that us coaches who've worked with you say, Russ always used to say this, and then they start.
Come sit down. Come sit down. I don't know.
Then
Like, what is it that you think that I influence the most?
Well, what would you like to leave behind? Let's start there. Like, if there's one thing, myself included, like if there's one thing that I really want Courtney to understand or grasp, or just take on this philosophy, idea, whatever, what would you say?
Go ahead.
I know your CJ will appreciate this because she was the best at it, but Russell enforced the 5-to-5 serve for our team for 18s, and it was a huge game changer, and I never ever thought of it. Never heard of that from like other coaches, but Russell pushed it and he encouraged it. I mean, he forces the girls to go outside their comfort zone all the time, and obviously it worked because he's been successful. So I think that's a big thing that coaches should do, and that he should, they should maybe remember him by.
Yeah, that's one thing. If I really do think that every position needs to learn every skill.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one time where you can have a position avoid a skill, whether it's setting, passing, serving, something. That skill will come out in a moment. I do think that you need to push them out. Here's what really matters. Winning doesn't justify success. You can beat a team and play poorly, and that was, remember Minneapolis? I think I scared a few people.
Yeah.
We're playing in Minneapolis, and this was the very first 15s team that we had with Sarah Murphy and Emily Johnson, and they'll probably remember this for the rest of their lives too. We're in a convention center, and you could have had somebody taking dictation. I was yelling at them so bad because they won 25-23, and Peyton and Maddie Brunick and Trinity and them. They played awful, and I just don't tolerate that. It's not, winning doesn't justify anything. If you're playing to your potential and you lose, that's much better than any win that you could possibly have by not playing your best. It's like, y'all went 2-1. Why'd you chew them out? And it's like, that doesn't matter at all. I mean, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
We had terrible attitudes that day. We didn't care for each other. We played bad. We got away with the very minimum, and none of that matters. If you focus on, hey, well, we won, so it's okay. Unless it's the state championship and you played terribly and the season's over, there's not really much else you can do after that. But yeah, always play to your potential.
I think everybody will remember your stupid arm tap too.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's gonna be your legacy. Yeah. Hey, what's that?
That's a good one. The many jokes.
The many jokes.
The dad jokes. God, good thing you're a dad.
I got away with it. Yeah.
It's funny in the beginning of the season, the girls will laugh, like new girls will laugh, that we haven't coached before.
Out.
And then by the end of the season, they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I hate you.
That's not funny. So, it's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the feeling in Atlanta winning the 18 Open bid. Like, talk to me about that feeling, watching your kids perform, the whole tournament, not even just when they actually won the bid, which was awesome, but just the overall experience, and then really grasping the quote-unquote unachievable in this area that these kids did, not only at 16s, but then again at 18s, which is the highest level, So talk to me about how you sat back and saw things develop with that team and execute the open bid.
So there was a 3-chapter story to the Atlanta bid winning, and Atlanta was a massively difficult tournament, not because of who we were playing, but the schedule was brutal. We played 3 in the beginning, a team that I think they finished in second, the Skyline team, second or fourth or whatever. We had just introduced Dylan to the team. We were on all cylinders. It was kind of like this new, fresh thing. We kind of finished on a low note, but we played well, so I wasn't really too worried about it. Day 2, that's when we played A5 again.
We played A5 a lot.
Like so many times.
They're pretty good.
They're good. But we ended up losing to them and somehow being we didn't have our best day 2. I think we got a little bit nervy. But we won just the right amount to move on. So we moved on. We barely made it. I don't think we played bad. But I wasn't satisfied. We didn't play well up to our potential. I think sometimes that team, and as most teams do, get a little bit nervy when their goal is right in front of them. I can tell you, my state championship game, we completely choked. You look at the match and it's like it's full of errors, and we just didn't do it. We won the state championship though, but. Anyways, day three, or pool 3, day 2, like we ended up playing the team that won the whole thing, and we almost won. And I was really proud of them for that. I felt like there was a tenacity to them, and that we just didn't quite finish. And then day 3, pool 3, beat a really good top select team. I was disappointed in how we performed against Sunshine because they had 3 6'3" girls and all this stupid stuff, and I don't think that we stepped up and were ready for it. We got lucky, very much in the same sense of being lucky in other things, that we came down to 1 game to win it. And what I was really proud of them was the phones were off, the team was together, there was a fire and a desire, and they didn't care if they were going to miss their flight. There was a huge sense of focus and a sense of desire that we got lucky to be at this point. We've earned it, but it fell to us. We're not going to let it go. And as a coach, when you see those things, you kind of just let them go. And it's like you only need to reroute them. They're already on full octane. They're already ready to go. So they just went out there and executed. I tell this story, she might be embarrassed, but CJ was killing it. She was doing amazing. We had a 2 libero rotation, and so I sat Maddie. And then CJ got beat in the face.
Literally.
Yeah, and her nose was bleeding, so we had to take her out. And I had 0 hesitation. And a lot of times when you have players that are backup players stepping into a situation, you get a little bit nervous. At zero worry about Maddie stepping up and making the play. And if you look in the whole play to win the bid, Maddie made a huge dig for the transition and kill. And so she was a perfect example of being ready for the moment. And I couldn't have been more proud of her and the team winning that. It was a sense of relief that we got it, because when you put yourself out there, I'm going to go do this, you set yourself up for failure, for haters, for judgment. And yeah, it's easy to hate on somebody that puts themselves, I'm going to go accomplish something that people say I can't accomplish. My senior year, we did the same thing. We weren't even invited to the preseason Richmond tournament because we weren't good enough. And one of the players came to me and said, "Why are you here? You weren't invited." I said, "We're going to beat your ass and everybody else in here." And of course there was a lot of ho ho ho, and it's like, see you in 2 weeks, and walked out the gym. And this is what the girls did. We're going to go win a bid. We're going to go win, and they accomplished that. So I'm really proud of them for that, for doing that same thing.
Speaking of those players like the CJs, the Maddies, the Jordans, who came into this year, right, like knowing that they're going to be a part of a pretty stellar group of athletes that paved the way a little bit for ECBC, taking those kids who weren't a part of our culture like the other kids were and putting them with that group, did that change your coaching philosophy a little bit to alter, or how did you look at your coming season? Because obviously the goal was completed, so something had to happen at the beginning, right? So what did that look like when you saw your team roster and knew, or maybe was like, I have to get the open bid, or that's the goal, right? Like, what were you thinking in that time at the beginning of the season?
We had a lot of thoughts in the beginning of the season. We knew we had great additions. We just didn't know how it was all going to work at first. And then I think Kiara and Russ and myself, at practices, we incorporated the culture. We had communication the whole time. Those girls, the girls who were already a part of ECVC previously, took those girls in. I think we all took them in, and it was almost like they were always there. They were always a part of our culture and part of our family. So,
if you recruit your own players, and I really tried to press on the girls that wanted to be at ECVC, go find the girls you want to play with. There's two things that happen. First, they tried out knowing what they were getting themselves into. And then second, it didn't have to be buy-in from me to do it. Those girls vouched for these girls. So to me, if just along the same lines of winners, right? If you say, I want this player on the team, and we say, yeah, she's good enough to be on the team, she's a part of the team, she's a part of the family, there really isn't any doubt. It's about how, and you figure it out. And one thing that I learned when I was young in business, somebody gave me the advice. He said, know what you are and know what you're not. And don't sugarcoat that. If you're not something, don't try to hide it. Be okay with it. Understand that. When you talk about CJ and Maddie, they weren't necessarily D1 outside hitters. They weren't recruited to be that. So where can I show them what they are, which are amazing athletes and amazing defensive specialists. Jordan the same way, spectacular athlete. How do I get her athleticism to be shown onto the court? So what Tracy was talking about was the conversation of where are we most efficient? Where are we the most effective? And part of that is also getting buy-in. Michelle, who was a Division I outside hitter for the majority of the season, we played her at opposite. Yeah. And we had to get her buy-in and that leadership from her to execute the plan of, this is where we're at our best. Please accept it. And she did, and it proved to be successful in so many different situations.
Nice. Why have you decided to take a step back from coaching? Because you're phenomenal. You built your rapport here. Girls trust you and know you. Why take a step back?
It's not me.
No, it's a lot of everything.
No, I meant there's no forcing of it. It's all you.
2 years ago, I was coaching 13's team, and I travel for work, but I got home, I got to play with Cooper. Cooper's 6 at the time. I had to turn around and leave for a volleyball tournament, and Cooper was hysterically crying. It broke my heart, and I knew my days were numbered then. And you only have certain things in your life, so I'll take a step back and say the most important thing you have in your life is legacy. Eventually you would be a forgotten person, right? And I feel like a little bit of my legacy was Coastal Boys. I feel like my legacy is ECVC, but what I've found to be the most important legacy is my family and spending time with them. And Tracy just posted something a couple days ago where I'm helping Cooper, pitch in baseball, and he just kind of cuddled up to me. And even though it doesn't look like I can feel it, I can feel it. And you can tell he appreciates it. And Cooper only has one dad, and Avery only has one dad, and I am very lucky to be their dad, and I'm going to take the time to be their dad, no matter what it takes to be that. I'm at least going to allow myself the full extracurricular time that I have to be their dad.
I think Laura Wen posted something the other day too, and it said something like, it was about coaches and how coaches watch the girls grow up, or boys, whoever you're coaching, like we see them grow up and we're with their kids all the time, and sometimes I think parents of those girls or boys forget that they leave a family behind, and I think that's a big part of Russell's decision though, because it's not that it plays a lot into work and all that, but it's not like it's done forever. Yeah. He just wants to be involved there with his kids.
If Cooper says, I want to play volleyball and I want you to be the coach, I'll be back.
Yeah, so that's the next question that somebody asked us, that Cooper's going to be the next big thing coming out of Virginia Beach. Are we going to have another boys team where Russell makes his return to the club and builds up the boys program for Cooper?
We got to get Cooper to like volleyball
first. It's all a matter of time. And there's I want Cooper to play the sports he loves. I want him to try everything. I want him to play golf with me and be my golfing buddy. But if he doesn't want to do that, we're good with whatever he does. And if that means, hey, do this travel baseball thing, and he goes and does that, if they say, Russell, what do you think? Would you like helping? Yeah, I'll help where I can.
Yeah. It would just be nice to have more time for those things for him, and that Russell's a part of.
Yeah, I travel probably about 50%, 70% of the work week. And then if I turn around, have practice, and then turn around, go to a tournament, just ends up being a lot
sometimes you show up for like an hour.
A lot missed.
It's sad. It's sad to see your little ones wonder, question.
Yeah.
So.
And there was no event. I'm just telling you a story, and Saturday, we're going to spend all day together, and if this was, junior season, I might not be able to be there.
We were just saying, this is our first Memorial Day weekend in, all of Cooper's life that we've been able to actually do something.
Yeah, so it's a matter of spending time with family and being able to allow them, sure, we have a reputation of being able to do things for young people. We want to be able to do that for our kids.
Understood. Now, and saying that, you're one of the greatest volleyball coaches in the area, right? So if somebody asks you to step into the baseball world, how is that going to differ from the volleyball Russell to a baseball Russell? Nothing's changing? Are we going to see the huddles with intense veins popping out, Russell?
Yeah.
Or are we going to see a little bit more calmer, cool, collected Russell?
No.
I don't think there will ever be a calm, collected, cool Russell.
No.
Even at our child's baseball game, who he plays coach pitch, Russell's walking over to the other side, about to beat some data.
Oh, that's not true. Now you're making it.
We got to hear this story. We got to hear it.
Championship game. Cooper.
I went to the bathroom.
No, he walked away.
I walked away because I was angry, but I walked away to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom. I came back. I didn't say a word.
Chamberlain and I were like, "Where's he going?
Yeah, because I
beat up that dad."
I had to pee. We were 50 minutes over time because they wanted to cheat.
He was mad.
I was mad. It was not fair, but at
that was
the
most
same
intense game. We've coached many high-level games in our careers.
6-year-old boys baseball was intense right there.
And it
was so intense.
A parent had to remind everybody there will be no scholarships given out at this game. Nobody's going anywhere. They're going home after.
If I were to give parents any advice off of this,
that's a good one.
The wins and losses of your kids will not dictate their future. Their potential, their attitude, their effort is all what college coaches look at. Winning 13-year-old Flight 1 matches means nothing. I've seen UCLA coaches go there and to scout to see if something's there, but they don't look at who the wins and losses. They look at, is this person got the right attitude? Do they fit my culture? Is there potential that I can see I can mold? All those things matter way more than winning even a national championship. Now, of course, the two correlate to a degree, but they don't correlate beating the club across the street. They correlate to beating the number 2 team in the country. Can I see myself with that girl setting for my team for the next 4 years? That's what matters. So when we go back to the baseball thing, we have parents complaining about runs scored and how many outs and things like that. It's like they're 6 and 7 years old. You are not doing them any service by either cheating, questioning, pushing for a ref who's a volunteer to win your little game. And that's where I got agitated, is because that was the concern. We got to win this game, and that doesn't matter.
Awesome. So coaching done, and we thank you for all your hard work and effort. Will you still be involved at some level with ECVC?
I have no problems advising on a phone call. I will not come and substitute coach. I will not go for another tournament or something like that. No, I'm done with that.
Oh, boo.
But I will say, hey, I'm running into this personal issue or this situation, and I can be the side consultant that can help with any type of situation.
I mean, he's still going to be a part of the staff. Like, he's not going
I
anywhere.
can still, Val, I will still help you with the budget. Val, I will still help you with the hotels, to the degree of what I helped you with the hotels. But I will still help with everything administratively that I have helped with. So
he's just not going to be on the court.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tracy, are you going to be coaching next year? That's a big question a lot of people want to know. If Russ is done, does that mean you're done?
No, I am not done. My days, we got a little bit of a gap between us, so I feel like I need to. I am not done. I am going to be coaching next year. Still coaching in high school as well. I think with Russ not coaching as much, we can kind of flop roles a little bit, and I can travel more with my club teams wherever that may be, so.
And I actually really enjoy the thought of supporting her in that. I do think that she has taken a back seat, and I don't think that her fullest potential has been demonstrated. I do think that a lot of my success, or what's been given credit to me, is also us two talking to each other and making decisions together. So I look forward to seeing what she did at Cox, duplicated in a more prominent role at ECVC. And I do want her, I encourage and will support her going on these trips. When, hey, I'm leaving on Thursday, okay, I'll schedule my business stuff to make sure I'm home so that we can move that forward. So however she wants to do it, I fully support her.
Won't be forever, but I am not done.
If there's ever something that you wanted to post over this, I saw when I made my decision, I saw a lot of metaphorical, or just a metaphor or analogy, I don't even know which is what, in The Greatest Showman. You remember that? And in the very last scene, with the metaphor in it is that he's passing his hat around, and you can just see the joy of what they did. You can just see the family atmosphere. You can see everything about what is special about what was the circus in that situation. So going back to the metaphor, I made Aaron sit down, I made Tracy sit down, I said, do you see this? And when he handed the hat off to the other guy, and he's like, what are you gonna do? And he says, I'm gonna see my girls grow up. I'm gonna see my kids grow up. And I just hope, and then my last tournament, I saw Courtney and Kiara running the warm up, and I teared up a little bit because that's kind of like me handing the hat off and seeing that handoff in such a proud way.
I think what we've talked about in that sense too is like, and we see it with coaches in this area or like, everywhere, but I do think at some point it is time to pass the baton. And I think a lot of people hold on to that ego or their ego, and they're like, they know they're good. We have great coaches who he's willing to take a step back and let somebody else step into that role. So I think that's what Greatest Showman kind of showed him. He would show everybody that he'd like scan right to that part. And I think that's what clicked. That's when he started talking about, So it is passing the baton on,
because
and still being there for guidance if it's needed.
Yeah, but very much a metaphor of greatest showman type of situation for me. I just hope that everybody found the same type of love and energy and passion that I found out of the sport moving forward, including coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were coaching before we were together, and we decided to coach together, and it has been part of us.
It's a journey.
It's been a part of us, and I hope the same thing of other people. You know, I see young coaches not married or starting a family, and I just hope that they enjoy it as much as I did. And then I hope that when they know it's time to do the same things that I'm doing, that they have passed on that journey and that joy to someone else as well.
Yeah. And it's still a joy to us. We'll be in the volleyball community for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think it's important for players and coaches to both realize, like, don't just do it because someone's telling you to do it. Like, actually enjoy it. And you'll grow so much. Coaches as well. I mean, I know coaches who just do it because they, it's something to do.
I just don't see it as like volleyball. I see it as family.
Yeah.
So, if Courtney or Kiara or Val or Craig or Aaron, whoever, said, "Can you come to our game?" I would be honored to if I could, and just be there to support not ECVC but family and friends who.
We have family at all
Yeah,
clubs.
like I'm still mad at Val. We haven't been invited to the pool yet.
It's probably not open, but
Val was like, so,
I'm not gonna send that to him.
I will say the one thing that I do regret this. I never have seen a player that I've done lessons with or coached play in college, and it's just been life, I guess. I do regret that.
Like gone to a game.
Yeah, I mean, boys, girls, everything. And maybe not coaching high school and will allow me to go and do that. But I do regret that piece of it because whether I was invited or not, I should have made the effort to be there. So if you are willing to invite me or want to remind me of your college season, I would really appreciate it. I can't promise anything, but I do appreciate the thought of going to a college game for sure. People I would like to thank, and I think that the original 10 players, Emily, Sarah, Trinity, Lily, Leandra, Natalie, Peyton, Maddie, Grace, and Brooke, I really owe you a debt of gratitude, and you all should be very proud, even though not very many people ended 18s at ECVC, that you were the foundation of what the potential was.
Yeah, you trusted us.
You trusted us. You all deserve a lot of credit for just stepping outside of your comfort zone and making things happen, making special things happen. Even your parents would ask me, "Why are we playing open?" And first tournament, and when we came in second, it's like, that's why we're playing open, because we can, because we're good enough to. And if you hold people to those high expectations, you will yield those high results. Obviously, that just leads into thanking Craig, who illustrates so well what success looks like. And it's very easy to be on your team, sir. And I wish nothing for the best, and I am excited about the progress that you have made and you are making, along with Val, who ECVC you started, and it was really just something that was better than what other people could offer to now the best, in my opinion, that can be offered. I really do believe that what you created, Val, as a foundation, and what you've inspired out of people in this community, Craig, is noteworthy. That's a terrible word. I think it's just inspiring, and I feel a lot of gratitude that you thought that I was a good member of that team. So I really appreciate you for just the ECVC part of it, but then also I remember Val saying, "Well, how good is he? He only has a good hat. How good is he?" In a conference call. We didn't really know Val, and you want to talk about just a warm hug. That's what Val is every time you see her. Even when she's not in the best of situations, she is a warm hug that you can always feel a positive sense of energy from. So I would love to thank you two, and I will continue to see you both as family. Tracy, thank you for stepping up and saying, I want to coach with you and I want to coach girls, and being the amazing supporting wife. And you are unfortunately listed as the assistant coach, but you are much more than that. And you are also the meanest coach on the court.
Yeah, I'm told that a lot.
So thank you for everything that you've done. I do remember times where you would be frustrated because you are left at home, and you deserve more than that, because I mean, you are the one that sacrificed coaching to make sure our family was together, and I look forward to that role switching and seeing your success.
It'll be fun.
To my ECVC coaches and family, I'm not dead, and I look forward to seeing each one of your individual successes as well. I hope everybody does well. The only way to get better is to improve on a macro level. When you're not beating the person across the street, you're beating the people that are obtaining your dreams, and that's how you are successful. So I wish everybody that is in the community to aspire to accomplish their dreams. And all of my ECVC coaches, I wish you the best of luck. I wish everybody the best of luck. I want everybody to try to accomplish their goals. So it's not about beating the person across the street. It's really about accomplishing your goals and beating the person that is where you want to be. And I feel like the best way to do that is to play this tough of competition, learn what it takes to, what success looks like at the ultimate level, and then do your best to accomplish that. So I feel like that's the ECVC way. That's why when I sat down with Craig and Val, we worked together to make that happen. And I really do think, and even Tracy in her playing days knows what that looks like when you beat the #1 team in the country, right? So you can accomplish your goals. You can have stories that are better than beating the team across the street. So go after that. And then finally, every player deserves some sort of recognition. I have been coaching since I was 21 years old, which was 18 years ago. There have been some very special people in my heart. I might have named you earlier, I might not have named you at all, and each one of you know how much I care for you. Some of you might think that I was mean to you, and I was, but that doesn't mean that I didn't care for you as much as I could. So I really do appreciate your acceptance and buy-in, knowing the type of coach and reputation that I am, and your hard work and willingness to get better. So I love all of you, and I'll see you around.
Nope.
Peace.